Omakase, the life and words of author M. Karen. If this is our first time meeting each other, let me give you a quick introduction. My name is Max. I write books for a living. I write every day. My favorite season has got to be back to school season, mostly because office supplies go real cheap. My pronouns are they, them, and on the subject of office wares, I believe that spiral-bound notebooks are the superior form of notebooks. I think that is just common sense. And welcome to the 9th episode of Omakase, a writing advice and inspiration podcast by yours truly, Max, also known as M. Karen. Welcome. Today I have a special episode just for you. One, because of a very important personal update. As of the recording of this video, I have been writing for over 100 days consecutively. So I'm going to talk about the journey to day 100 and more in my personal update, which is the first third of the show. The second third of the show is all about viewer questions. As always, I take questions from the comments, from Twitter, from my email. And today we're covering two questions, both kind of technical. One on the perfect side project, and a question on how not to be repetitive in first-person narration. I did this, I did that. We are gonna talk a little bit about that on the second segment. And of course, the last segment is the prompt. Today, we have an interesting story idea. Let's see what we all can make out of that on the third segment. Before I get started with the show in proper, let's go into housekeeping. I have two items for you. The first is that the song, which you heard at the beginning and you will hear at the end of this show, is titled Dream of Green by the OC Jazz Collective and OCRemix.org. That is a wonderful website full of free-to-download video game remixes. And if you would like this track and countless others, please consider going to OCRemix.org. And I don't want to go too in-depth on the second point, but I just want to say that if you want to support me, and Patron is not your cup of tea, how about treating me to a cup of coffee instead? There will be a link in the description of this podcast, in the video, and everywhere else, a link where you can treat me to a one-time donation and buy me a cup of coffee. Alright, I told you about the song, I talked about coffee. Let's begin with the first part of the show, my week. What have I been doing? What have I been writing? And what media, books, games, movies have I been consuming? Let's start with the big one. As of the recording of this video, I am on day 103 of my daily writing journey. It's been a long way. And, I guess it shouldn't come as a surprise, that I dedicated myself to a goal and I made it there, but it's strange that it didn't feel that crazy, as it didn't feel like the mountain I thought it was going to be. And I guess that if you climb a mountain one day at a time, you will make it there to the top now, huh? It's weird. It's strange, because when I first began doing daily writing, I just wanted to get more writing done. I dealt with some personal things, 2017 was not very kind to me, and I just wanted to focus on writing. And I did. And I finished a bunch of novels, and I got a bunch of work done, and I felt great. And I have built the habit so much that I don't want to say that I can't, that I will never break it, but I don't want to. Posting on Twitter about it, keeping my own, notes and my writing, and I have my own documents tracking, from day 1 all the way to day 103, and I don't want it to stop. And if I had to go, I have to go over my experiences on the writing journey, day 103. I think the ups have definitely been that I don't struggle as much with the beginning part of the process. I have done, because back in the day when I was writing like 3 times a week, but I was writing all day, the first like half an hour of writing was the hardest, because I would have to like ready myself, I would have to hype myself up, I would have to, like just force myself, because the beginning part of a writing session is always the hardest part. And it is the point in the writing session where you can make the most excuses to just, postpone the writing or just skip it altogether. And I didn't want to do that anymore. It's part of why I began the daily writing process. And definitely the big improvement with my writing process is that, like, that's just done. And I don't want to make you feel that, like, the instant I started daily writing, I stopped worrying about the first part of the writing session. It took like, weeks. I don't think it took months, but it took me a while. It took me several times of going through the same, I don't want to say pointless, but the same routine of like, oh, I gotta hype myself up, I gotta have my coffee, I gotta have all these things ready. And at one point I just said screw it, and I just dove into the writing. Sometimes without music, sometimes even without my good fancy ergonomic keyboard. I would just say, okay, I have a very busy schedule. I'm a very busy person, and I thought I can waste 5 more minutes getting hyped, or I could just jump in now. I could just jump into the water, and that's become my process. Not so much not wasting time, but rather not spending time anticipating the beginning of a writing session, because it is hard. The beginning of a writing session, is always hard. That's always hard. But I've just jumped into the water every time. There's a shock. There's always a shock. The first cycle that I do, I like to write in 25-minute cycles. Pomodoros, productivity people know what I'm talking about. 25-minute cycles. And the first cycle of a writing session is always the worst, because I'm getting into the groove. What I've basically learned to do is just skip over all the preparation, and I just start the timer and I go. And that's great. It's come to the point where I realize just how silly I used to be and how much I used to worry about things. The kind of way that, like, you worry about things before they happen. Okay, and I don't mean to bring back bad memories to y'all, but do you remember, like, and you may be in high school right now, or college, and, this is still relatable, #mood, but you worry and worry and worry about a presentation or a project, or, some kind of thing where you're going to stand up in front of a crowd and actually do a thing, and you're terrified of it, and you worry about it, and you think about it, and you think about what you're going to say, and when the time comes up, that 5-minute presentation flies by way faster, and you return to your seat and it's over. And I don't want to say that all that worrying that you did was for nothing, but you completely forget about it. I kind of realized this at one point in life when, like, I would spend so much time worrying about something, and the instant it was over, I would completely forget about all that worrying. And I've kind of been making it a point to try to worry less. I prepare myself for the situations that I'm going in, I do the research that I need to do, and when it comes to writing, I just jump in. The writing session will happen, that presentation will get done, I will say what I came here to say, the 5 minutes will be up, and life will go on. It also doesn't help. I guess it does help. This part of this mentality, I guess I got this. I guess I picked it up because at the beginning of this year, and if you follow me on Twitter or you followed me on the other videos, then you know. But at the beginning of this year, my sister had a baby, and she's a single mom, and all the family was away, and I was like the only person who could be there for her. And I don't want to say that I burnt out all of my worrying on that day, but the process of a baby being born is a long one. It's a very long one. And at like hour 3 of worrying about what could happen with the baby, I just kind of realized, listen, there are professionals here. I have the job that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do it well. And everything else, whatever happens, will happen. I think it is very easy to worry about things outside of our control. And I think at the end of it all, it's best to just come in with the knowledge that we have, with the preparation that we have, and just get stuff done. Wow. We got a little bit lost there. You know, we're wandering through the woods together, you and I, and next thing we know, we took a turn. I think it's still mildly related to writing and to real life stuffs. I've been making it a point to worry less about things, because you know me, I am very good at worrying. But I think I'm getting better. What about the downs? What about the downsides? Because on the upsides of writing every single day, for 103 days so far, is that I've been writing more. The process has become a little easier. I spend a lot less time worrying and just jump into the writing process. What about the downs? I think that I had bad days where I didn't want to write. And I don't think I wrote my best stuff. And some days I didn't write for very long. Some days I got very little writing done. And I feel like I have to say that again. I wrote every single day for the last 103 days. But some days were not enormous writing days. Some of them were very small. On my journal, I wrote them as writing session XSM, extra small. Some days I only managed 5 minutes in between recording sessions and running all over the place and going here and going there in real life. But I did not break the chain. I did not stop being immersed in the stories. I didn't give them up. Over my years of writing stories, I've kind of realized that one of the things that kills stories, kills books, is when we as the writer get away from the story. When we let it sit for a long time, it is hardest to pick up a story the longer that you put it aside. This is part of the reason why I am strongly against the idea of juggling multiple projects, or just picking up a shiny story idea when you really should be working on your main big project. Kendra. Oh man, I'm so mad. That's not even for you, that's for one of my real life friends, who just keeps picking up small projects, and I'm like, Kendra, just finish one, so just finish something. Just finish a thing, Kendra, please, I beg you. And hey, if you're listening, Kendra, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Anyhow, what about the other downs? It's been tiring, it's true. Writing every single day and trying to stay creative every single day in spite of real life and the state of the world. That's difficult. I think it's part of the challenge, and I think that that's not going to change. Like, the nature of the world around me, real things, you know, like rent and bills and taxes, like that stuff is not going away. I can't just flick a switch and make all that stuff go away. Though wouldn't that be great? There's a story idea for you right there. So it's a sort of thing. It might be part of the reason why writing hasn't been so bad. I guess I should clarify this. I've also been waking up at the same time every day. I wake up at 6:30 a.m. every single day. And I also go out for walks in the morning. Part of that is that when I go out for my walks in the morning, if it's sunny, if it's clear, if it's overcast, if it's slightly kind of sprinkling, I still go out for my walk. I put on a windbreaker, a big hoodie, and I still go out for my walks, because we have no control over the weather, we have no control over the state of the world, so we must do with the world, with the weather that we're given. The last point that I want to bring up, and last little thing on my notes, is consistency. The other thing that has really improved, thanks to the 103 days of writing consecutively, unironically so, is consistency. I keep track of my cycles of how much I write, and I do realize that there's kind of an average. Aside from the first cycle of a session, because that's the hardest one, there's kind of an average. Writing for the same time, or in the same cycles, every single day has kind of helped me be more consistent, and at the end of it all has helped me make more writing. It's the thing that I've been saying forever, that if you write 1 page a day, you will finish a book in a year. And if you want to finish it faster, write 2 pages a day, 3 pages a day. But it is the matter of continuously doing the thing that makes the thing exist. You will never write a book in a day. You can't do that. That will never happen. Don't be silly. Instead, write a book over the course of a month, 2 months, 3 months. Break it down. Look at how long you think the book should be. Work on it a chapter at a time. Day by day, climb that mountain. That's the only way you will get anything done. I have a quote that I picked up while I was preparing a project for the monthly video, or the monthly podcast, I guess, / workshop. In regards to productivity, this is from the Wikipedia page on the Eisenhower method. Don't think a critical task will get done in one's spare time. Now, before you pass judgment, because I know that a lot of you, all the time you have to write is your spare time. But that's not what I'm taking out of that particular sentence, that quote. What I'm taking from it is the sentiment that when people jump into productivity, they expect that they will find more time than the time that is actually available to them. And I know people who keep wanting to start projects, people who have reached out to me through emails, who want to achieve a thing, but don't make the time for it. Don't think a critical task will get done in one's spare time. It will get done while we're not looking at it. It will get done without us putting in the effort. So, dear writerly friend, I want to inspire you to put in the effort. Some days will be good, some days will be bad, but it does not matter the quality of the day. What matters is that we show up and we get stuff done. Okay? Okay. All right. I've gone on really long on that point, so I'm just going to burn through the rest of my 3 little notes I have regarding my week. I have been playing couch co-op games with my wife. We're playing Diablo 3 on the PS4, and it's weird on this day and age that there's still couch co-op games that you can just play with someone who's there next to you, and it doesn't require like internet connection and stuff like that. I just like that. That's just so cool. And I wish more games did that so I can play them with my lovely wife. Also, this week I finally, she forced me to sit down and finally watch Mad Max Fury Road. That movie is... I feel like I need to sit down and further analyze it, but I really enjoyed it. The setting was very interesting. Having watched the original Mad Max movies, I never actually found the setting to be that particularly interesting. This movie fully reignited my passion for post-apocalyptic settings, and the kind of magic and mysticism of it was really cool. And the last thing that I want to mention is that my wife and I have recently been watching... I know, we're super behind. I know. But we started watching, on a whim, My Hero Academia, which is an anime. And if you ever hear me talking about why or how nothing should be free for your main character, I recommend checking out My Hero Academia. We're only a few episodes in, but the protagonist of that story is very interesting, super real and relatable, and that character gets nothing for free. Like, if you're wondering, what do I mean by, nothing should be free for your main character? They should work for every single inch they get. I'm just gonna, drop in and say that the idea that your character attempts to save someone and in the process of doing that break every single bone in their body, that's costly. That's drama. I like that. I don't know if the anime gets bad or if it gets even better, but the first few episodes we watched were pretty good. We are certain to keep on watching and find out. Now, a pause. A moment before we talk about questions. Let's take a second to just pause and talk about the people who make this show possible. This show is brought to you thanks to my patrons. Patreon.com/mkaren is the #1 place to support me and what I do and get cool perks in return. Copies of my books, early access to this podcast, access to my super duper secret writing zine, and of course, shoutouts. Patrons pledging $5 and up get a shoutout in the middle section of this episode, and those pledging a little extra more get the super big shoutout, like my super duper big patron, Atalak. Atalak has a DeviantArt page. You can learn more about their art and their writing over at deviantart.com/AHTILAK. Atalak. And a big shout out to the rest of my big sponsors. A. Howard, Amelia, Angela, Brenda, Caitlin, Gilbert Godrow. You have not corrected me yet, so I'm gonna assume Godrow is right. Irina Phoenix, Joe, super new patron, Lazy, Mark Maruska, Nicola, Pat Eichson, Polycraft Tool, Rain Misawa, Soulmuse, and Synexia. And in case you're wondering, every single one of my patrons pledging at least $1 and up will get a shoutout of their own at the end of the video, and if you happen to buy me a cup of coffee, I will make it a point to also give you a shoutout. But now, let's get back to the show. I almost kind of want to get like music for like every single segment. It's like, I'll cue in the questions music. Do 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 do. Okay, that was more elevator music than anything else. You're right. I will leave all of those silly jokes and shenanigans for the end of the podcast. You're right. Back to business. 2 questions this week, taken from viewers like you. I take questions from Twitter, YouTube, my email. And the first question is all about a primer on the perfect side project. If you must have a side project, if you must take resources away from your main project, what do I recommend you do? I think... Now. I have to back up a second. I am not against the side project. I actually partake in side projects all the time. I am doing one right now. So consider this another great reminder that the universe works in mysterious ways, because as someone sends this question, I'm literally working on a small book right now. So I thought, what better time? If you're wondering, Max, how can I guarantee that you read my question on the show? Send in a question about exactly what I'm going through at this moment, because I have so much to say. The perfect side project. A project on the side of your main project. And I feel that although that may be redundant and super obvious, it bears repeating for one particular reason. If you must have a side project, if you must work on something other than your main novel, your main comic, your main game, whatever it is you're working on creatively, my number one, my big rule, the one that cannot ever be broken, because if you are breaking it, you're being a silly person. Your side project cannot be of a larger scope than your current main project. I feel like I have to stress this, because sometimes in the process of being lured by a shiny story idea, writers make really irrational choices. If you're working through a big fantasy novel at this moment, you should definitely not start another large novel. That's silly. Don't do that. That's not a side project. That is you literally pulling. Do you pull the brakes or do you push the brakes? Pushing on the brakes. I don't drive, I don't have a car, so the metaphor is like completely falling apart in my hands, like a really badly made like coffee cake. I'm like, do you push on the brakes? Do you pull on the brakes? Well, I mean, you can pull on the handbrake, but what about the foot? I mean, you push it to the metal. If you push it to the metal on the accelerator, then I assume you must also be able to push it on the brakes. This is part of what being an editor is like, just questioning the way people say things and what they mean. Oh man, you know I'm in a silly mood because I'm just like, oh my god, what does that saying even mean? All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. I promise that the silliness would go at the end of the episode. A side project. A side project should be a small thing. And I know, because I have friends who are dealing with this right now. Kendra, uh, you should definitely not pick up a side project that is of the same size or equal to or somewhere close or even bigger than your current main project. That's not a side project. That's you, as I said before I cut myself off, pushing the brakes on on your main project and just leaving it on the side. And like I said in the previous segment, one of the things that kills novels is just you letting it sit, you getting away from the story, you letting the distance between you and the story just grow larger and larger until you disconnect, until you forget what part of the story you were on. You think you know what part of the story you were on, but if you were to open up your notebook or open up the file and look at the last sentence you wrote, would you recognize it? Probably not. I know because I've been there. I know because I have dropped books in the middle of them. And I would open them up, to say, yeah, I'm gonna get back to it, though I didn't mean it. And I would open it up and be like, yeah, I know, this next scene is what's supposed to happen next. And I would open up in the middle of the chapter where I stopped, and I would look at the final sentence, and I would go, what is this story even about? What was going on a page ago? I didn't remember. I thought I did, but I didn't. And while I've been on both sides of the following step, whether just giving up on the story entirely or picking it up, rereading it, working on it, I've done them both, and it doesn't feel as true as it was when I was writing it in the moment. So, first off, if you must work on a side project, I would like to urge you to not have it be something big. Have it be something you work for a little bit, but you must continue working on both. I have to clarify that. But it's something you work for a little bit, you complete, you get it done, and then you get back to living. You get back to writing. You get back to working on the main project, the big one, the one that you've been dedicating so much energy to. I know that chasing the shiny story idea, the plot bunnies, but I feel if I must, entangle myself in metaphors, that, chasing the plot bunnies is like chasing the rabbit down the rabbit hole. Next thing you know, you're in Wonderland, in a completely different place, and the rules don't make sense anymore, and nothing makes sense, and you're having tea with a Mad Hatter and a talking rabbit, and the next thing you know, yes, I know it was a hare, I realized that halfway through that sentence. You're somewhere else, in a completely different world, and all of the stuff you had before then gets left behind. And I know that metaphor was mostly for the sake of comedy, but it still makes sense though. A part of that rings true. You're leaving it behind. You're chasing after something else. So if you must have a side project, a little something else you want to get done, first off, it better be something you really want to do. And it better not just be a shiny story idea that you're chasing because you're feeling a little disillusioned with your current one. As I've said before, you're going to learn more from finishing things, from pushing through all the way until the end. You actually can. You can't spend your whole life starting stories and never finishing one. And I don't know how successful that will make you, to be entirely honest. Probably not at all, because you have to finish stories. It's part of the process, You can't just publish a book of nothing but chapter ones. And I know what you're thinking. Wow, that's such a cool idea. Maybe I should pitch that to an agent. It's silly. Do the scary thing. Just do the scary thing, please. Just sit down at the chair. Stop making rituals. You don't need coffee to write. You don't need your, a special desk. You don't need that thing or that thing. Start on a napkin if you must. But just start. If you must have a side project, I recommend something small, and it should be something where, again, personal rule, it should not be of the same size. Like, it shouldn't even be half the size of your current project. And you cannot spend more than half of your time on it. Because again, if you're spending more than half of your time on this side project, guess what? That's the main project now. And that other project you were working on, the big one, that big fantasy novel that you've been working on forever, you just lost it. And that right there is silly. Don't do that. I know. Writing is daunting, writing is scary, and sometimes chasing blood bunnies feels so good, but they stop being shiny when you catch them. And there will always be more story ideas than time. Okay? Okay. I went on real long there. Oh man, I'm like inspirational. I'm silly. I forgot that there was a hare at the tea table with the Mad Hatter. I also didn't know the origin of the term Mad Hatter until I listened to a podcast by the name of S-Town. That is a completely different tone than this one, but if you're interested in a really good 6-episode story, I would recommend S-Town. I listened to it in the course of like 2 days, but it is definitely intended for mature audiences. Yes. Alright, that's one question. Let's go over a more technical question with number 2. How do you make first-person narration less repetitive? Because when you have a story from the point of view of a character in first person, it is very easy to fall down into just saying, I did this, I did that, I walked, I sat down, I walked through the door, I laid in bed, I slept for 7 hours. How do we make it so the narration is more interesting than just these mere I insert verb here, period? And I think that this particular problem is one that gets attached more to first person, in spite of it being a problem that can also occur in third person. It's a lot less common, or it's a lot less evident, because in third person you can just say she said this, she did that, she walked there, she walked through the door, she laid on the bed, she slept for 7 hours. That is still as ineffective, but when you're writing a story in first person, it feels more obvious that yes, this has kind of been repetitive, and yes, all of my paragraphs are starting with I. Now, I don't think that it is inherently a bad thing for every single paragraph to start with the letter I, mostly because my thing is that if the narration feels natural and good and it flows well, then it's good. As the saying goes, if it works, and I don't question it, because I'm enjoying the story, because nothing's stripping me up, because it is clear. And summary. Sentences that summarize an action are part of being clear. This is a whole conversation about showing versus telling, or rather calling them by their real names, description versus summary. They're both incredibly useful tools, and you should not give up one for the other. That would be foolish. Summary is important because it gives information to the reader, and it is clear. Description is good for writing because it helps the readers visualize what you're telling them, and it helps them paint it in their own field of their imagination. So what do we do? How do we make first-person narration less repetitive? Well, I am writing a first-person story right now, so let me tell you. It is easy to get lost in summary, especially when you're just writing the story and just transcribing what you're seeing on your mind. What I like to do is to make sure that I am also describing things. It's not just a matter of, I walked over there. If the main character is walking somewhere, also describe what it looks like. Describe what's happening around them. Describe their own reactions. Don't focus just on action. This is something that that is very easy to spot once you've been writing for a while. But people who are new to writing focus a lot on pushing the story forward. They focus a lot on bam, 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 bam. I did this, she did that, we moved there, we did this, we killed that bad thing, we got the magical artifact, we did this, we did that, we did that. New writers just go through entire story arcs in the matter of a whole chapter's length, because they're focusing on things happening. And that's not inherently a bad thing. It isn't a bad thing. But the one thing that if I can just, slide under the table a little bit of advice, don't be on a rush. Because when you're being on a rush, the reader can feel it's on a rush, because it's going to be a lot of just summarizing. A lot of this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Slow down. Take a deep breath. And remember to also carry description into narration. Describing to the reader what places look like, what things look like. I can tell you this because this is the first note in all of my revision checklists. Describe places. I always forget to describe places. Even when I'm actively trying to describe places, I always forget to describe one thing or another. So, when you're writing in first person and you're giving, blocks of, summary, I walked into the room, I laid down on the bed, I slept for 7 hours. Drop in little bits of description. Ask yourself, have you ever actually described your main character's room? Have you actually described what the house looks like? Have you described what, the world looks like? And you will often find out that you haven't. I've read a lot of stories, a lot of, new writers, a lot of people reaching out to me for feedback, professional work, and most of the time, they forget to describe where things are happening. And when you actually stop to describe things, that serves two purposes. One, it actually, I don't want to say slows down the story because people take that as a negative thing, but it gives the reader time to visualize things. And even though there is no pause in the actual course of the story, the viewer has a nice moment, a nice breath of fresh air to visualize what is happening. Description helps. The other thing that helps is also adding context. What I mean by context is your own character's feelings about their actions and the world around them. You almost can get away without description if your character gives you context. There's a difference between I opened the door, I walked in, I laid down on the bed, I slept 7 hours, and I opened the door, I was back at my old room, the same old room, just like I had left it before I left for college. I walked to the bed, it was still made, Mom had been keeping the room clean, there was not a single speck of dust anywhere. I laid down on the bed, my same old bed, the exact same way I had left it before I left for college. I closed my eyes and I fell to sleep. That right there, just right off the top of my head. And it's still primitive, it's still missing some color. I barely even gave you any description of, I actually don't think I gave you any description of what the room looked like, but you got some context. It wasn't just any room. It was the character's room. It wasn't just, a regular bed. It wasn't just a blank slate. It wasn't just a white room with no features and no furniture and nothing. There was context there. And I think that part of effective first person is not just, being clear in your storytelling, summarizing what needs to be summarized and describing what needs to be described, but also adding context. The thing that first person has over third person is that first person, you are by default a person, a character. The narrator is someone with an opinion, with a taste, with biases, with dreams and beliefs and passions, and you can carry these into the narration. And you definitely should. They will make the story feel more real, have more weight. It will feel as though it is someone's actual thoughts, as though you're inside of someone's head and you get to see the world from their point of view. And that right there is so much fun to write and to read. I hope that helped. And I hope that if anything, I gave you another point of view. Oh man, I'm running really late today. So let's just dive right into the last segment of the show, the prompt. Every week, I give you a weird story idea or exercise or some sort of writing system or tool that you can use to enhance your storytelling or to just think about stories for a little while. Today, I want you to think about storytelling, to think about stories, and to flex your creative muscles, even if just for 5 minutes today. If you feel courageous enough to create something based on this story, please let me know. If you make a game, if you draw something, if you write something and you put it up on the internet, let me know. I might be interested in reading it. And the last thing I want to slide in here is that you do not have to source me, you don't have to reference me. The instant that you put pen to paper, that story idea is now yours and yours to do as you see fit. Okay? Your work, your time, your writing, your story. Okay? Okay. And now, today's prompt is titled redacted. It's the best I could think about. The other one was, on the subject of subtraction. On the subject of subtraction, but that felt too gimmicky. What is this story all about? I think I've done something similar to this in the past, but I had a really good twist on it. So let's take it. Let's go. Let's do this. Imagine a person, a character. I picture a young person, straight out of college, in college, 19 maybe, I don't know. I'm picturing someone, a person who had a crush on someone else. And you know, the high school / college crush. You don't really know the person, but you enjoy their company, or you see them, and they make you feel things. And you see this person every day, you walk down the same hall, you pass each other on the street in between classes, and every day, in a way, you look forward to seeing them, even if you don't have the guts to just ask for their number. You enjoy seeing them. One day, as you're going to school or college and you get ready, in the back of your mind, you're looking forward to getting to see that person. Because in a way, they are an anchor in your life. They are someone who is there and has been there. And you hope you get to see for a long while. When you go to school, the time finally arrives. You start walking out that hall, you start walking down that street, and they're not there. You stand there in the middle of the hall, in the middle of the street, on the sidewalk, and the person doesn't come. You wait there. They don't walk past you because they're not there. You wait for a few seconds, and you think to yourself, they are probably sick. They were late to school. And you go on with your life. You don't think about that day until the next morning. Until you walk down that hall again, and that person you had a crush on is not there again. The next day, same thing. And then the day after that, the same thing. The weekend comes and goes, and then you return on Monday, and they're not there. What? Where has this person gone? What is happening to them? The twist in my brain, I don't know how you get our protagonist to realizing this. Maybe they ask around, maybe they go to the principal or their teachers and digs around for information, asks their friends. But one way or another, our protagonist discovers that no one knows who this person is. No one appears to even have a hint of a memory of this person. Who? No, I don't remember anyone like that. I don't have any friends who look like that. There's no one in the school called that. Nowhere. Everywhere our character goes, or your character goes, no one knows of them. The clubs you thought they frequented, the clubs you knew they frequented, the places you knew they went to, no one knows about them. It's almost as though this person never existed. As though they just puffed out of existence. And maybe they have. I think one of the clear plot twists is a shift in reality. Maybe this person never existed. Maybe your protagonist was imagining it in their mind the whole time. My favorite one, though, I think, I don't know what you would come up with, but in my head, I love the idea of this person having been erased from existence. Someone just snapped their fingers and poof, they're gone. Forever. Maybe not forever. Maybe that person has gone somewhere else, but it sure isn't that high school, that college, that hallway, that street, the same clubs, the same friends, the same classroom. What would happen if one day something you knew was true disappeared? What would happen if one day you wake up and you're the only person who remembers that TV show? What if you wake up one morning and you're the only person who remembers that website, that company, that celebrity? What if you were the only person in the world? Everyone out there, everyone thinks that the Beatles was a band formed of 4 people, but you know that there was a 5th member to the Beatles. And only you remember. Up until yesterday, everybody knew. Up until yesterday, everybody knew about the 5th member of the Beatles. He was your mother's favorite. You just listened to one of his singles the other day. You might have seen him on concert. And you wake up today and everyone is under the weird impression. Everyone believes there were only 4 members to the Beatles. What would that be like? To wake up one day and realize that a part of the world has been redacted. I want you to play with the idea of taking things out of reality, and in a way add things to reality. What would it be like if there had been a 5th member of the Beatles, but none of us remembered because some way, somehow, that information had been redacted? And I want to leave you with one final twist to this. The natural question that I must ask, because I am a silly person and I have to ask this: what is the source of this ability? Of this ability to remove things from memory and existence, as though simply just removing lines of code from the programming of reality. Removing pages from the codex where everything that has ever existed and will ever exist was written. What would it be like for you, for your protagonist, to have such a power? And that's a wrap. Hi there, the name's Max, also known as M. Kieran, and this has been the 9th episode of my writing advice and inspiration podcast, Omakase. I hope that the prompts are fun. I hope that you're having fun. I'm having fun. I didn't think about that Beatles example until I was talking, until I was, going through the prompt, and I'm like, oh wow, wouldn't it be weird? Wouldn't it be really freaking weird if, you wake up one day and, nobody knows that thing that was a pop culture sensation. Every single thing that rippled out from that erased. Suddenly you wake up and nobody remembers the movie Shrek. And all of those memes, gone. All the memes based on that meme, gone. Okay, that world doesn't sound that bad now that I'm saying it out loud, but think of that concept, that idea. Removing things from existence. Alright. You have fun with that. And I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me. I hope you love this podcast. I hope you're having fun. I am having fun. And as always, if you really like this show, please consider leaving a rating/review on iTunes. It would actually mean the world to me. But now, I am gonna head over to the outro and the end of the video, part of the video. So you guys have fun. You go get lots of writing done. Side projects should not be the same size as your main project. And between now and the next time we meet, I hope that you sit down, you brace again against the scary, scary feeling that is putting pen to paper. And that you, against all odds, get some writing done. Okay? Okay. And now, welcome back to the end of the video. Welcome back to the end of the video club, where only the cool kids who like staying until the end of the video get to hang out. I am going to give a shout out to every single one of my patrons pledging $1 and up. Anyone pledging $1 and up gets to listen to this podcast a week before it goes live on YouTube, and then it goes live on iTunes and Spotify and Google Music and all those other places. You get it a week early. That's kind of like the basic package you get from my Patreon page. And I am going to make it a point that if you, for some reason, for whatever reason you have, don't want to use Patreon, you can treat me to a cup of coffee, and I will also give you a shout out on the end of the video club. So, I am going to live on screen. I am going to, yes, everyone's here. We got some new patrons, so let's do this. A big thank you. Thank you so much to all of my patrons. A. Howard, Atalak, Amanda Stevens. I'm doing this live this week. This week, no edits. Okay. Okay. The shtick for this week, for the end of the video club, is that no edits. I'm gonna have no edits in this outro. Okay. Are you ready? I promise you. I'm gonna put my mouse away from me. Actually, I need my mouse for I need my mouse for scrolling through Patreon. So I'm already lying. And if I was doing cuts in this section, I would absolutely cut that out. So take that as the receipt that I am not editing anything. Amanda Stevens, Amelia, Amy Palmer, Angela, Aniek Sohoshi, Biting the Sun, and everybody's favorite, Blarg. I have to give it all to Blarg. I have to give it all to Blarg. Did I say Biting the Sun? Biting the Sun. One downside of me not doing cuts is that, like, I'm just gonna forget if I called someone's name, so I'm gonna just re-say it again. Brenda! C.E. Richards. Caitlin! Did Caitlin change their icon to... Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, they changed their icon, yeah. That's fair. I have no idea. Oh my god, what's his name? Kirk? From Star Trek? Listen, I don't know Star Trek. I don't know. Captain Kirk? I don't know. Are they even called captains? It's fine. Wait, no! That's another Caitlin. I have two patrons. Oh my god. I have two patrons named Caitlin. Oh my god. Wait, no. Wait, no. Did Caitlin Bombalos... Oh my god. I'm just realizing now that maybe they just changed their last name. Because you can change your name on Patreon. So you know what? Caitlin, and then the other Caitlin. Cannibal Lily, Kyriat Eccleston, Kathy Lindsay, Christiane. Oh yeah, if you want a quick way to just throw me the heck up, just change your name on Patreon. Just change your name on Patreon, and my brain just goes into full alert mode. It's like, warning. Who is this new person? Who's Christine Dennis? It makes me question everybody on the list now. Kristen Lofton, Citro, Clem Pastor, Carissa Glasheen, Dwayne Jackson, The Return, Eleanor, The Return of Eleanor, Erizos, Joffrey, Gilbert Goudreau. Man, okay, I say this with all the love in the world, I hate French. I have no idea how I'm supposed to pronounce French words. I hope I got it right, though. Heather Tasker, Irina Phoenix, Janusz Hibatsky, Jaytona Kirkwood, Jeffrey James Williams, Joe! By the way, don't feel bad about changing your name. Like, if you change your name on Patreon because of whatever reason, that's cool. You do you. You do what you need to do, okay? Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad about me just tripping, like my whole brain just, like, stops working. That's completely fine. It's part of the amusement. This here is for the enjoyment of the end of the video club, where we stay until the end of the video. Joe! Juan Nunes, K.M. Anderson, Kameshwar Rao Shaluri, Kaylee, Kiel, Kid Lee. Well, see, here's what I like to call the K Club, because everyone just has like really short K names. And new $10 patron, Lacey! That's cute. That's so cute. Also, I like your icon. It's really cute. It's really cute. Man, it always kind of cracks me up, the usernames. Because it's just like I have no idea who Blarg is. They've been a patron. You know what? Let's back up. Blarg has been a patron for 28 months. Jesus Christ. Blarg, thank you. Thanks for the support, Blarg. But I just I just commit so hard to Blarg. And I'm just like, lazy. Man, funny names. Lier Killo, Mark Maruska. So I love Mark. He's been a patron forever. He's a cool guy, but I love that his name on Patreon is in all caps, and I always want to scream it. I always want to scream, Mark Maruska! But I don't think any of you headphone users would appreciate it. Mary Foster Smith, Nicola, Nicole Grissom, Nicolay, Noam Zohar, Novels and Tomes, Pablo, Pat Eichson. What if I just start screaming Mark's name? Mark Maruska! It's not over yet, Mark. Polycraftool, Rain Misoa. Okay, alright. We need to make a statement right now. Okay. And I know just saying this is gonna make trouble, but like, if you all change your names to being in all caps, I'm not saying that I will scream them all. I'm just saying that maybe, just maybe, I'll get up from my chair and I will scream them with my mouth facing away from the mic. But that's just a maybe. I don't know. Don't you know? Take it with a whole spoonful of salt. There's a Polycraftool. Polycraftool. Rain Misoa. Raquel Fernandez, Resonance and D, new patron. Hey there. Wait, no, you're not new. You've been a patron for 25 months. You changed your name. You changed your name, didn't you? Resonance and D. Roa, Shimmer Tales, Sky D White, Soul Muse. Sorry, just completely losing my. Did Soul Muse change their icon? Soul Muse totally changed their icon. Is that a Fire Emblem character? You know what? We must investigate. That is totally. Oh my god, is that Lucina? That is totally. That's a Fire Emblem character. All right. Just double checking. I'm like, I gotta know. I'm like, is that Tharja? No judging. I just need to know. I was about to do an edit because that joke wasn't funny. My mouse went over to the auto marker button so that in the recording there would be like a little split. But no, that joke wasn't funny. I'm keeping it in. You guys get it. This is what you get for staying until the end of the video, for the end of the video club. Sylvia Leitilla. That joke wasn't funny. Synexia. Thomas Baker and Wendy Christopher. Okay, no, that wasn't fair. Thomas Baker and Wendy Christopher. Hey guys. Man. I promise no edits. I promise no cuts. I did this for you. I think I spent more time on the shoutouts than I did in the actual prompt, but that's fine. Hey there, guys. Max here. I hope you're all having fun. I hope you all got a giggle out of, me being terrible. But it's part of the fun. I wouldn't commit to that. I wouldn't sit here on this chair and say the things I say if I didn't mean them, if I wasn't hoping that they would help. Or if anything, just make you laugh about how silly I am. Hey, thank you for tagging along until the end of the video. If you're new, here's your membership card to the end of the video club, where we stay until the end of the video. Thank you for tagging along. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me. And if anything, that's my timer going off. Inspirational moments ruined by video game tracks blasting in the background. Hey guys, life can be scary, and it can be very easy to worry about things. But I hope that no matter what, you keep pushing on and you keep climbing that mountain one day at a time.